All right, so here's how to calculate real contact rate because most aren't getting this right in 2025 and moving into 2026. And because they're getting this wrong, it's absolutely crushing their sales. After working with over 5,000 businesses, I can tell you almost nobody calculates contact rates correctly, or very few. Not real estate teams, not investors, not insurance agents, not solar, not recruiters. The large majority, I'd say 98%, 99%, simply don't understand this. Spam likely has gone from a nuisance to an absolute business crisis. We can see the social proof around us. We can look at examples just like this example on Reddit, where a user says, my contact rate is like 5%. The online leads feel fake. This is exactly what happens when you're not measuring real contact rate. The leads aren't fake. Your phone system simply isn't connecting. And you don't have the right definitions to diagnose it and fix it. So let's define the problem clearly. Most teams only count positive contacts. For instance, you may only count a quote or an application. You may consider contact as long conversations or particularly good outcomes. And for most salespeople, that's how they define contact. If you don't have the right data, it's very difficult as a business owner to know which levers you might want to pull in your marketing, which levers you need to pull with your team's coaching or training, or even just putting new systems and processes in place. So having the right data is essential. What counts as real contact? Real contact is extremely simple. If a human being says hello, it counts as contact. Even if they hang up, even if they yell at you, even if they say, stop calling me, take me off your list, right? That all counts as contact. One thing I hear on a regular basis is that the team is saying, hey, this wasn't a contact. This didn't count as somebody answering. But when we dug in deeper and we actually started to listen to call recordings and listen to game footage, what we found out was that a lot of the calls that went for like even a short period of time were being inaccurately reported. And when we reviewed this with the sales rep, they would typically say something like, oh, they only answered for a second and then they hung up. Or they just weren't interested, so like I didn't count them. Now, I completely understand the sales rep's point of view. It certainly wasn't a positive outcome, but based on our definition of contact, somebody said hello. Somebody answered the phone. And it's important as a business owner to understand this because if you're not collecting the data correctly, that will get magnified. And now the decisions that you make on your marketing and your lead spend are not going to be allocated correctly because the data is off. It's not accurate. Another Reddit user, half the people who do pick up just tell me to stop calling. Now, the reps think that they're failing, but that's actually still positive contact, and that's pretty common in sales. That might be more of like a mindset and coaching thing. It's certainly not positive in that example, but it is data, and that data is what allows you to fix your systems. So the real formula, real contact rate formula is once again insanely simple. It's the number of people that you speak to in a certain time frame divided by the number of leads that you purchased or acquired in that same time frame. And then you multiply it by 100. That's it. That is your contact rate, and that is the baseline. Certainly there are other KPIs, but we're going to talk about why contact rate and measuring this specifically is so important. In 2025 and 2026, it's the new elemental factor on why businesses are succeeding or failing. And I'm going to bring the proof to show you that. And we're going to demystify these numbers on the channel here. You know, what doesn't count is contact. Conversations that go over a minute certainly are contact, but we can't count that exclusively. We can't count just calls that go over 10 minutes or 1 minute. Once again, that goes back to a training aspect. Sure, you can measure those things, but it doesn't directly show you the results that you're getting from your technology stack when it comes to getting people on the phone. Keeping them on the phone, that's a salesperson's job. Getting them on the phone and letting you make contact, that responsibility falls on your tech stack. We don't count voicemails as contact. Missed phone calls do not count as contact. Call attempts do not count as contact. Outbound text and emails do not count as contact. Contact, once again, just simply the number of leads that you purchased in a time frame divided by the number of people that you spoke to in that time frame, and then you times that by 100. Most companies think that their contact rate is somewhere between 20 and 30%, but when we really dig in, they're nowhere close. And they're basing that off of either bad data or just a gut instinct. If you don't have these numbers, which is pretty typical, it's totally common, we're gonna help you understand where to find them and how to demystify and digest them to understand how you can get a better ROI on your business and your marketing. Okay, so another comment, and then we get comments like this all the time: cold calling is dead, nobody answers. Okay, the truth is, there are people and businesses out there that are more profitable than ever. Some of the clients that I work with are having their best years ever when the market is melting down around them. Trust from your customers is dead. Your contact rate is dead. Outbound isn't, right? So just like every shift in the market, there's a way to overcome it. There's already winners in this space, there are losers, and then kind of 80% in the middle simply haven't figured out how to play the game. Why does this matter? When you measure real contact rates correctly, everything becomes obvious. Caller ID issues, spam likely episodes, routing problems, vendor and lead quality issues, rep performance, burnout, and wrong assumptions. It's a diagnostic tool for your entire sales operation. Okay? So most business owners start with kind of the end goal in mind. They want to have the sales be the top of the pyramid. And it may actually look something like this in your organization. A lot of the business owners that I work with personally follow this structure. So they have the sales pyramid. They might want 2 or 3 sales out of a rep each day as a goal at the top of that pyramid. If you don't have your sales quota in, is the activity there? Are you having enough quoting conversations, applications? Do you have enough talk time? Are you having quality conversations? Because the data matters, and what you pay attention to, you can improve. But if you're not paying attention to the data, these issues can metastasize over time. Now that pyramid is great, and I think it's a benchmark, but we're actually, I believe, looking at it the wrong way. Having the goal is always important. You can't get somewhere if you don't have a destination. But the goal is a direct result of the activity and the results that you're getting from the tools and processes and people that you have in place. So let's invert this pyramid for a second. We're gonna flip it upside down. So starting with the activity in mind, everybody should be having a daily call volume goal. Everyone should have a daily talk time, quote goal, sales goal. But the hidden piece here, and what I would say is a new elemental factor in sales, is contact rate. And this is a good representation. It's down about 40% over the past year, industry-wide. A lot of business owners are feeling like, hey, it's harder to get people on the phone. It's harder to get people to answer. The reps are telling you this, the leads suck. None of that's true. It's just the contact rate is low. And you can see this funnel, it wedges. So you've got all of your calls, and then the hidden elemental factor here is the 1 to 20% contact rate, which is industry average. It's certainly not what most business owners want if they're investing in leads. That's if you're buying quality leads with intent. If you're calling age data, you're probably in the low single digits. But that contact rate will allow you to ultimately talk to a certain number of people. That's going to result in a certain number of quotes, and that is getting you the sales result. It's like a waterfall. It all trickles down to that end result. If we take that same pyramid and we open up the floodgates a little bit, so we go from a 1 to 20% contact rate up to a more respectable 40+% contact rate, it's just getting more volume of applications and quotes. You have the same team, the same marketing, but if suddenly they have the right technology to allow them to talk to twice as many people, and they maintain even a similar closing rate, all of a sudden your sales double. And most business owners are doubling down on marketing. They're already spending a ton of money on leads, but they double down. They want more. The problem is there's a bandwidth issue. The team can't get to all the leads because they don't have enough time in the day. So they end up just staying flat. You're kind of spinning your wheels. A lot of business owners go out and you can recruit. You can double the size of your team. I don't know what a salesperson is in your operation, but let's just say they're 50 grand and you got 2 people and you pay them roughly 50 to 75K a year. And you want to double sales. You could hire 2 more people, and certainly you're going to be adding 100 to 150, 200 grand in overhead yearly, but that should allow you to double your sales. One thing that most business owners are not considering is, am I being as efficient as possible with the leads that we have at hand? And that all comes down to this mystical contact rate. All right, so here's the action steps. What I would like you to do today is pull last month's lead count. How many leads came in last month? And you need to find out a way to figure out how many humans you actually spoke to as an organization. Whether it was just a hello, stop calling me, hello, I want to buy from you, we need to count it all. Now, if you don't have reporting and tracking that shows you this easily, look at your call history report. Look for calls that are going over 50 or 60 seconds. Typically, majority of those mean that they are talking to a real human being. Most voicemails are under a minute. The more accurate your data, the better you're going to be able to hone in on this. And if you feel like you don't have accurate data, we need to find a way to be able to get that. So we're going to go over some other strategies in another video on exactly how to pull that information. But once you have last month's lead count and how many people you spoke to last month just on those leads, you need to divide those 2 numbers. Multiply that by 100, and that percentage is your real contact rate. If you're under 20%, you have a problem if you're buying leads, okay? Now, it's not a people problem. It may not even be a lead problem. This is a completely new elemental factor in the sales space. It's not your fault, but it is your problem, okay? So hopefully some of this information helps fix your definitions, measure it correctly, track it daily, and this is how we're gonna get more hellos. If you found this information valuable at all, I'm gonna keep bringing these videos to you. Feel free to subscribe, and I would love to know what your contact rate is. So drop your contact rate down in the comments, and let's, as a community, start to talk about ways that we can help each other drive better contact, because we all win together.